Why is Britain no longer a rich economy? To answer this, let's journey back to when Britain was one of the world's wealthiest nations. The heart of the Industrial Revolution, Britain was once a beacon of prosperity. Its economy was fueled by an unstoppable engine of industry and innovation. The country's wealth then was not just financial but also in its rich resources of coal and steel, its booming manufacturing sector, and its vast empire's trade. But the two world wars that shook the globe in the first half of the 20th century took a toll on Britain's economy. The cost of war, both in human lives and economic resources, was immense. Post-war recovery was slow and painful, and the nation's wealth began to dwindle. The period from the late 20th to the early 21st century saw some ups and downs. However, the overall trend was a decline. As we can see, Britain's wealth has been on a roller coaster ride, but what caused the recent downturn? One of the key factors causing Britain's economic decline is inflation. This isn't merely a buzzword politicians throw around during election season or a concept that only economists understand. It's a real, tangible force that's slowly but surely altering the economic landscape of Britain, particularly in the aftermath of Brexit. Let's break it down. Inflation is the rate at which the general level of prices for goods and services is rising, and subsequently, purchasing power is falling. Now, imagine a balloon being inflated. As it expands, the air inside becomes less dense. Similarly, as inflation rises, the value of money falls, meaning your hard-earned pounds can buy less than they could before. Post-Brexit, Britain has been grappling with a surge in inflation rates. From the price of a loaf of bread to a liter of petrol, everything has become more expensive. This isn't a small uptick we're talking about, it's a significant increase that's impacting millions of people's day-to-day lives and their ability to afford basic necessities. To put it into perspective, the Bank of England's target inflation rate is 2%. However, in recent years, inflation has consistently exceeded this target, reaching heights not seen in over 2 decades. That's a 20-year high. It's like a monster wave in the ocean, threatening to capsize the ship of Britain's economy. This surge in inflation is more than just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's the reality of more expensive groceries, higher energy bills, and increased public transport costs. It's the tightening of belts and the cutting back on non-essentials. It's the constant stress of making ends meet. Inflation is a silent thief, gradually eroding the purchasing power of the pound in your pocket. It's a powerful force that's reshaping Britain's economy and contributing to its decline from a once wealthy nation. But the question remains, how did we get here? What caused this inflation surge? And more importantly, what does this mean for the average Brit? Inflation has made everyday items more expensive, but what other changes has it brought about? As we delve deeper into this topic, we'll uncover the answers to these questions and more. The rising cost of living has forced many Britons to change their lifestyle drastically. It's like a wave sweeping across the nation, leaving no shore untouched. From the bustling streets of London to the tranquil countryside of Yorkshire, the cost of living crisis is no respecter of postcodes or professions. Everyday simple pleasures are becoming luxuries as the prices of basic necessities continue to skyrocket. A loaf of bread, a pint of milk, a kilogram of apples, these are no longer items you can toss into your shopping basket without a second thought. The cost of living crisis has turned grocery shopping into a strategic operation, where every penny counts and nothing is taken for granted. And it's not just about food. The rising energy prices have made us rethink our daily routines. Long, luxuriating baths have been replaced by quick showers to save on heating costs. We're turning down thermostats, layering up in sweaters, and battening down the hatches against the chilling winds of economic hardship. But we're not just cutting corners, we're getting creative. Britons are coming up with innovative ways to stretch their pounds further. From bulk buying and meal planning to mending and upcycling, people are adapting and finding ways to make do with less. The crisis has also brought communities together in unexpected ways. From neighborhood food banks to clothes swaps, people are stepping up, supporting each other and finding strength in solidarity. But it's not all rosy. The crisis is taking its toll on our mental health. The constant worry of making ends meet, the fear of what the future holds, and the stress of living on a tight budget can be overwhelming. In the face of all this, the government promises relief and reforms. But until those promises become reality, Britons are left to navigate this crisis as best as they can. As if the cost of living wasn't enough, Britons are also dealing with the rising cost of childcare. The high cost of childcare and poor living conditions have added to Britain's economic woes. Let's start with childcare. Childcare costs have been a growing concern for families across Britain. Over the past decade, the average cost of a full-time nursery place for a child under 2 has risen by nearly 1/3. This means that for many families, childcare is the single biggest monthly expense, even surpassing mortgage payments or rent. In addition to the financial strain, the quality of childcare has been a contentious issue. With the rise in costs, parents would expect top-notch services, but this isn't always the case. Many are forced to compromise on quality due to budget constraints, which can impact the developmental growth of their children. But the economic strain doesn't end with childcare. Housing conditions are another significant concern. The issue of overcrowded housing is hard to ignore. More than 1 in 10 children in Britain are living in overcrowded homes. This means they don't have sufficient space for study or play, affecting their well-being and academic performance. Overcrowding isn't just a problem in low-income households. It's also seen in middle-income families who are struggling to afford larger homes due to skyrocketing property prices. This has led to a housing crisis, with families living in cramped conditions, often in areas with poor access to amenities. And it's not just about space. Poor housing conditions can lead to a host of health problems, from respiratory illnesses due to mold and damp, to stress and anxiety, caused by lack of privacy and space. These issues are not isolated but interconnected. The high cost of childcare leaves families with less to spend on adequate housing. Similarly, poor living conditions can impact a child's ability to learn and thrive, creating a cycle of disadvantage that is hard to break. These issues are just the tip of the iceberg. Let's delve deeper into the economic challenges Britain is facing. Job cuts have been a significant contributor to Britain's economic decline. Let's dive into the realm of employment, more specifically, the surge in job cuts that have riddled the nation, particularly in the post-Brexit era. The ripple effects of these cuts have been felt far and wide, leaving no stone unturned, no family untouched. Imagine a domino effect. One factory shuts down, hundreds of jobs are lost. Those hundreds of people in turn cut down on their spending. Local businesses suffer and they too may have to lay off staff. It's a vicious circle. Now take that image and multiply it across the nation. That's the scale we're dealing with. From bustling cities to small towns, the landscape of employment has dramatically changed. Unemployment is not just a statistic, it's a lived reality for many, altering the fabric of society as we know it. But the story doesn't end there. These job cuts have left families navigating a sea of financial stress and difficulties. Imagine the struggle of putting food on the table, paying bills, or simply making ends meet. It's a reality that's far too common in today's Britain. The economic challenges brought on by job cuts have also spilled over into other sectors. Take healthcare, for instance. With less money to spend, people are more likely to forego necessary medical treatments or medications, putting their health at risk. And then there's the infrastructure. As tax revenues decline, so does the government's ability to maintain and improve public services and facilities. Roads crumble, schools struggle, and public transportation systems falter. All in all, the job cuts have created a domino effect that's been felt across the country. It's a silent crisis, creeping into every corner of society, slowly but surely eroding Britain's economic stability. Job cuts have put a strain on the healthcare system and infrastructure, further exacerbating Britain's economic problems. Britain's healthcare system and infrastructure are crumbling under the weight of the economic crisis. As the economy continues to struggle, the once robust National Health Service is being stretched to its limits. Thousands of surgeries have been delayed and waiting times for essential treatments have skyrocketed. This crisis is not only confined to healthcare, the country's infrastructure is also feeling the pinch. Roads, bridges, and public transport systems, once symbols of Britain's economic strength, now reflect its financial woes. Potholes are left unfilled, bridges are in desperate need of repair, and public transport systems are becoming increasingly unreliable. The figures are alarming. Tens of thousands of miles of roads and hundreds of bridges are in need of urgent repair. These are not isolated problems but symptoms of a wider economic malaise. The decline of Britain's economy is a multifaceted issue that requires immediate attention and action. In summary, Britain's economic decline is a result of a multitude of factors. We've taken a deep dive into the heart of the issue, examining everything from the alarming surge in inflation to the escalating cost of living crisis. Each of these elements has played a significant role in shaping the current economic landscape, creating a domino effect that has left ripples throughout the nation. Remember the wealthy past of Britain? That seems like a distant memory now. The inflation surge has been relentless, pushing up prices and squeezing households, making basic necessities a luxury for many. This surge hasn't come alone. It's brought along a severe cost of living crisis, impacting every aspect of daily life. We've also touched upon the mounting childcare costs and deteriorating living conditions. Families are struggling, juggling multiple jobs while trying to provide a safe and nurturing environment for their children. The situation is far from ideal, and it's a stark reminder of how economic downturns affect the most vulnerable among us first. Then, there's the issue of job cuts and the economic challenges they bring. Job security is a thing of the past, and financial stress is the unwelcome guest that's moved in. People are grappling with uncertainty, unsure of what the future holds. And let's not forget the overwhelmed healthcare system and crumbling infrastructure. These are the pillars of any prosperous nation, and in Britain they're showing signs of distress. The cracks are beginning to show, and it's a clear indication that things need to change. Although the situation is grim, it's crucial to remember that understanding these issues is the first step towards finding solutions. Knowledge is power, and staying informed about the country's economic situation puts us in a better position to respond, adapt, and hopefully effect change. So don't turn a blind eye. Ask questions, seek answers, and never stop learning. Although Britain's economy is facing challenges, understanding these issues is the first step towards finding solutions. Stay informed, stay engaged,